The same German shepherd who once rode shotgun in patrol cars now stood shivering in the rain outside the 12th Precinct. 3 years had changed everything. His clean police collar was gone, his proud bearing was hidden beneath matted fur, his badge number forgotten by everyone except one man. But when he finally pushed through those familiar doors, Sergeant Martinez knew immediately Officer Rex had come home. Welcome to Dog Vision TV. Before we dive into this incredible story of loyalty, duty, and homecoming, tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from today? And if you believe that true partnership never dies, hit that subscribe button. Some bonds are stronger than time itself. The 12th Precinct stood like a fortress of brick and glass on the corner of Maple and 3rd Street, its American flag snapping in the October wind. Rain drummed against the windows as officers moved through their Tuesday morning routines, paperwork, phone calls, and the endless rhythm of urban law enforcement. Outside, the city woke up gray and cold. Commuters hurried past with umbrellas, their heads down against the weather. None of them noticed the German shepherd standing motionless across the street, water dripping from his matted coat, eyes fixed on the building before him. For 3 years, Rex had wandered the streets. 3 years of scavenging for food, sleeping in doorways, dodging animal control, and surviving on instincts that had once made him one of the department's finest K-9 officers. His collar was gone, his identification lost to time and the harsh realities of street life. To anyone who saw him, he was just another stray, another casualty of a world that discarded what it no longer needed. But Rex remembered. He remembered the weight of his tactical vest, the sound of radio chatter, the smell of leather seats in patrol car 247. Most of all, he remembered the voice that had guided him through 4 years of service, the hand that had fed him, the partner who had trusted him with their life. At 9:47 a.m., Rex made his decision. He crossed the street with deliberate steps, pushed past a group of civilians entering the building, and walked through the front doors of the 12th Precinct for the first time in 3 years. The lobby buzzed with typical morning activity. Citizens waited on benches to file reports, rookie officers processed paperwork, and desk phones rang with the constant demands of urban policing. The front desk sergeant, Officer Williams, barely looked up as what appeared to be a wet, homeless dog wandered through the entrance. "Hey," Williams called out casually, "dogs aren't allowed in here." Someone needs to... But Rex wasn't listening to the desk sergeant. His nose was working, cataloging familiar scents buried beneath years of change. New paint, different coffee, unfamiliar faces. But underneath it all, the essence of the place remained the same: home. He moved past the waiting area with purpose, his wet paws leaving tracks on the polished floor. Several officers noticed him now, some reaching for their radios, others standing to intercept what they assumed was a stray that had wandered in from the rain. But Rex knew exactly where he was going. Past the front desk, down the hall, left at the bulletin board covered in wanted posters and departmental notices, straight to the door marked K-9 Unit. He sat. Perfect posture, despite his bedraggled appearance. Head high, ears alert, waiting for the command that had once been his life. That's when Sergeant Carlos Martinez emerged from his office, coffee mug in hand, reading a report about budget cuts to the K-9 program. He was older now, grayer, carrying the weight of 3 additional years in law enforcement. But when he looked down and saw the German shepherd sitting at attention outside the K-9 unit door, the mug slipped from his fingers and shattered on the floor. "No," Martinez whispered, his voice barely audible above the precinct noise. "It can't be? Rex looked up at the sound of that familiar voice. For a moment, neither moved, man and dog, separated by 3 years of searching, hoping, and grieving, now facing each other across a few feet of institutional flooring. Martinez knelt slowly, his knees protesting the movement. Up close he could see the changes that street life had carved into his former partner. Rex was thinner, his coat dull and matted, small scars marking battles fought alone. But the eyes, those intelligent, loyal brown eyes, were unmistakable. "Rex!" Martinez's voice cracked. "Officer Rex?" At the sound of his name, Rex's tail gave the slightest wag, not the enthusiastic greeting of a pet, but the controlled acknowledgement of a professional recognizing his handler. Other officers had begun to gather, drawn by the commotion and the sight of their veteran sergeant kneeling on the floor, tears streaming down his face. "Sarge," Officer Williams approached cautiously, "do you know this dog?" Martinez reached out slowly, letting Rex sniff his hand before gently touching the dog's head. Beneath the matted fur, he could feel the familiar ridge of scar tissue from Rex's final operation, the one that had ended both their careers in active K-9 work. "This isn't just any dog," Martinez said, his voice growing stronger. "This is Officer Rex, badge number K947. He was my partner for 4 years. He saved my life twice, helped solve over 200 cases, and was declared missing in action 3 years ago." The gathered officers listened in stunned silence as Martinez told Rex's story, how they'd been partnered when Rex was just 2 years old, fresh from police dog training in Germany. How they'd patrolled the toughest neighborhoods in the city, Rex's nose leading them to drug busts, missing persons, and evidence that broke cases wide open. "He was fearless," Martinez said, his hand now resting on Rex's head. "There was this one night domestic violence call that went sideways. The suspect had a knife, cornered me in a hallway. Rex didn't hesitate, took the guy down, saved my life, but caught the blade in his shoulder." He pointed to the scar beneath Rex's fur. 12 stitches. The vet said he might never work again, but Rex was back on duty 2 weeks later. That's the kind of officer he was. The story continued. How Rex had been instrumental in solving a child abduction case, tracking the suspect through 3 miles of urban terrain. How he'd found evidence in a warehouse fire that led to the arrest of an arson ring. How he'd been more than a working dog. He'd been a true partner. "What happened 3 years ago?" Officer Chen asked quietly. Martinez's expression darkened. "Budget cuts. The city decided K-9 units were too expensive. Rex was scheduled to be retired, and I was going to adopt him officially, but the night before the paperwork went through." His voice trailed off. "There was a break-in at the K-9 facility. Someone left gates open, maybe by accident, maybe on purpose. Rex and 2 other dogs got out. We searched for months, found the other 2, but Rex..." Martinez shrugged helplessly. It was like he vanished. What Martinez didn't know, what no one could have known, was the odyssey that had brought Rex back to this moment. For 3 years, Rex had survived on the streets, but he'd never stopped being a police dog. He'd avoided the dog catchers not out of fear, but from training that taught him to evade capture when separated from his handler. He'd found food and shelter using the same problem-solving skills that had made him excellent at tracking and detection work. But more than survival, Rex had searched. He'd returned to their old patrol routes, sat outside Martinez's apartment building, even found his way to the hospital where Martinez had been treated after a minor injury 2 years prior. Each time, something had prevented the reunion. Timing, circumstances, or simple bad luck. The streets had been hard on him. He'd lost weight, gained scars, and learned to be wary of humans who might not understand that beneath the dirty exterior was a trained law enforcement officer. He'd helped lost children find their way home, had scared off potential muggers through his mere presence, and had continued serving the city in ways no one would ever know us. Through it all, he'd remembered his training, his purpose, and most importantly, his partner. 3 weeks ago, Rex had found his way back to the Precinct neighborhood. He'd watched from a distance, learning the new routines, the new faces, and when the rain came this morning, something inside him made the decision that he couldn't wait any longer. "I can't believe he found his way back," Martinez said, running his hands through Rex's damp fur. "I can't believe he's here." Captain Morrison had arrived, drawn by the gathering crowd and the story that was spreading through the precinct like wildfire. She looked down at the German shepherd, now receiving attention from multiple officers, and shook her head in amazement. "Martinez, wasn't this the dog from the Riverside Elementary case?" "Among others," Martinez nodded. "Rex had a 94% success rate in narcotics detection and a perfect record in search and rescue operations." Captain Morrison knelt beside the dog, studying his condition. Despite his rough appearance, Rex maintained the alertness and bearing of a working dog. When she spoke a basic K9 command, "Stay," Rex immediately complied, proving that his training remained intact despite 3 years on the street. "What's his status now?" she asked. Martinez looked confused. "His status? Is he still technically a police officer? Because if I remember correctly, he was never formally retired. The paperwork was delayed because of his disappearance. The implication hung in the air. Technically, Officer Rex had been on extended leave, not discharged from service." "Captain," Martinez said carefully, "are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting that we have a decorated officer who's been missing in action and has now returned to duty. The K9 unit budget was restored 6 months ago. We have an opening. What happened next would become legend within the 12th Precinct." Captain Morrison made a phone call to the police commissioner. Within 2 hours, a veterinarian had examined Rex and declared him fit for duty pending proper nutrition and grooming. By evening, the paperwork had been processed. Officer Rex, badge number K947, was officially reinstated to active duty with the 12th Precinct K9 unit. The transformation began immediately. Rex was bathed, groomed, and examined by the department's veterinarian. Beneath the street dirt and matted fur was the same powerful, intelligent working dog who had once been the pride of the unit. His new collar arrived the next day, complete with badge and identification. When Martinez attached it around Rex's neck, the dog sat perfectly still, as if understanding the significance of the moment. "Welcome back, partner," Martinez whispered. For the first time in 3 years, Rex's tail wagged without reservation. The local news picked up the story within days. Missing police dog returns to duty after 3 years. But for those at the 12th Precinct, it was more than a news story. It was proof that some bonds transcend time, circumstance, and even the bureaucracy of municipal government. Rex's first day back on active duty was remarkable. He remembered everything: hand signals, voice commands, search protocols. It was as if the 3 years had been compressed into a single moment, and he was simply continuing from where he'd left off. 6 months later, Rex and Martinez had not only resumed their partnership, but had exceeded their previous performance records. Rex's experience on the street had sharpened his instincts and given him an understanding of the city that no academy could teach. He'd been instrumental in solving a missing person case within his first week back. His years of surviving on the street had taught him new tracking skills that complemented his formal training. The Drug Interdiction Unit requested his services regularly, and his success rate remained above 90%. But more than his professional achievements, Rex had become a symbol within the department. New officers would hear his story during orientation. Visiting law enforcement officials would ask to meet the dog who came home. Children on school tours would pet the famous K-9 officer who had never given up. Martinez kept a photo on his desk. Rex, on his first day back, clean and groomed, sitting at attention beside his patrol car. But he also kept a second photo, taken the morning Rex returned, muddy and bedraggled, but unmistakably home. "Some people ask me how he found his way back," Martinez would tell visitors. "They want to know about K-9 navigation, scent trails, territorial memory. But I think it's simpler than that." He would pause, looking at Rex, who would invariably be sitting nearby, alert and professional even in moments of rest. He came back because this is where he belonged. This is where his family was, and sometimes when you love something enough, you just find a way. Rex's story spread beyond the precinct, beyond the city, becoming a testament to loyalty, perseverance, and the unbreakable bonds forged in service. He proved that dedication doesn't end with retirement papers, that duty doesn't fade with time, and that true partnerships survive even the longest separations. The 12th Precinct installed a small plaque near the K-9 unit door, where Rex had sat that first morning. It read simply, "Some who serve never stop serving." Rex continued working for 2 more years before finally accepting retirement, this time a proper retirement ceremony with full honors. He spent his final years living with Martinez, chasing squirrels in the backyard and sleeping on the couch, but always ready to return to duty if called. When Rex passed away peacefully at the age of 13, the entire police department attended his funeral. The flag on the precinct was flown at half-staff, and officers from 3 states came to pay their respects to a dog who had embodied the best of law enforcement. But his legacy lived on in the officers who had heard his story, in the criminals who had been caught through his dedication, and in the children who had been kept safe by his service. Rex had proven that heroes don't always wear uniforms. Sometimes they wear fur, and sometimes, when they've been away too long, they find their way home through rain and doubt and the simple, unwavering belief that where you belong, you'll always be welcome. Rex's journey reminds us that loyalty isn't measured in time served, but in the depth of commitment that survives any separation. He spent 3 years on the street, but never forgot who he was or where he belonged. Have you ever witnessed a bond like Rex and Martinez's? A partnership that defied time, circumstance, or bureaucracy? Share their story in the comments below. Subscribe to Dog Vision TV for more incredible stories of canine heroes who serve, protect, and inspire. These four-legged officers deserve our recognition and respect. And remember, sometimes the greatest act of service is simply coming home.